Welcome to Essence of a Moon. As a witch walking both ancestral and past life paths, I don't just read about magic, I live it. Every single day, I am practicing some sort of ritual, doing ancestral offerings, speaking to my spirit allies. My whole life revolves around magic, witchcraft, and connecting myself into a deeper relationship with myself, as well as all of my past lives as witches. So when Crosscrowbooks sent me Patricia Telesco's Advanced Witchcraft for review, I knew I was diving into something deeper. This book isn't for beginners. It's for those ready to refine, expand, and fully embody their craft. In today's video, I'll share how this text challenged me, confirmed old wisdom, and inspired powerful new workings in my practice. Let's get into the real magic. So as you can see, I have this wonderful book here called Advanced Witchcraft, Exploring Deeper Levels of Spiritual Skills and Masterful Magic by Patricia Telesco. So Patricia Telesco has many other books out available. This one I feel is her latest book, and I'm super thankful that Crosscrowbooks sent this my way for review. It is a soft cover. It's $19.95, and it is approximately 191 pages, including recommended readings that she put in here. So let's go through the chapters in here. So of course we have an introduction, we have an author's note, we have defining the Adept, archetypes of adepthood, the leap of faith, making a commitment, dedication ritual, living the magic, what to expect along the way. Chapter 2 is a moment's pause, recognition, integration and expression, motivation, advanced witchcraft, the human factor, pets as familiars, which I love. As you all know, I do witchcraft with my familiar, Darla. Spells, charms, and amulets. Chapter 4 is magical artistry, magical muse, mazes and labyrinths, glamoury. So on my Behind the Moon series with Bobby from Wild Raven Tarot and Ramon from Moon Scarab, we have a Thursday regular show, live show, where we discuss different types of magic, witchcraft, divination. I mean, everything under the moon we discuss. So a couple weeks back, we had Heather from formerly Indigo Dragwire, and now it's by Bone Brush, and I can't think of her full name. I'm going to post her information below, as well as the live we did. We talked about magic and artistry because she's a phenomenal artist. And as the day of the show, I got this book in the mail. I was flipping through right before our live, and I came across magical artistry, and I'm like, how flipping perfect is this? That this book came to me at the perfect time. And I did use a lot of the information from this book and incorporated it into our lives. So glamoury is something that we are going to be doing in an upcoming show, because putting on makeup, doing glamour magic, you can use that as, I'm going to get through and talk about that later on, but glamoury is going to be one of our next shows. So Dreamwork for Chapter 5, the Dream Diary, the Sacred Sleep Space, Personal Dreamtime Magic, Lucid Dreaming, Program Dreaming, Divinely Inspired Dreaming, psychic and prophetic dreaming. Chapter 6 is trance work and path working. Trance work, group chances, information retrieval from spirit, channeling, prophetic trances, path working, group path working, vision quest. Chapter 7 is working with natural and elemental spirits, so spiritual safety, a ghost of a chance, necromancy, mediumship, of nature, myth and magic, legendary energy, totems and guides, elemental spirits. Serving the community for Chapter 8. Study groups, gatherings and lectures, covens, healing, counseling, monitoring and regulation, community magic, self-care and maintenance. And then there's an afterword with the divine co-pilot with a long recommended reading. Guys, this is like all of those witchcraft books combined into one. There's so many great chapters in here that anyone who does practice witchcraft or has worked with advanced magic can easily pick this book up and have, I'm going to say, essentially everything they need to expand on their magic. So if you recently begun studying magic, many of the processes here are going to be difficult for you. So again, it's not for beginners. It will be difficult for you to undertake successfully, and some might prove downright frustrating. I don't say this to discourage you, but rather to encourage you to take your path at a pace that's wholly right for you. As with any art, getting really good at magic takes time and old-fashioned practice. Don't try to fly before you have wings, but also don't hold yourself back. In other words, recognize both your talents and your limitations, and your magical life will unfold far more positively. More than anything else, be patient with yourself. Master the Witchcraft 101 information, and then return to these methods when you've got a good grasp of the basic. If you're not sure about whether you're ready for Adept process yet, refer to the Leap of Faith in Chapter 1. This outlines the foundations necessary to move on to more advanced magical techniques. It also tells you in a step-by-step format what you can do if you haven't wholly built these foundations yet. By the way, for those of you who may be wondering about some terms in the book means, a priest or priestess of the craft is the same as a priest or priestess in any religious setting. This person has earned a place of respect through training and study. Sometimes they are an elder, a person around retirement age who has been in the craft for dozens of years. In other cases, it may be a younger individual who has simply grasped the deeper meaning of the craft and put them into use in a group setting, therefore gaining everyone's respect and a leadership position. Similarly, an adept or magus is someone who has well-rounded understanding of magical arts and the ability to put the knowledge to work successfully. These people and others like them are some of the best representatives of our community. My hope is that in time you can walk a mile in their shoes. I wish you much good fortune and wisdom in this journey. How great is that? I hope that helps you understand if you're ready for this book. But if you're not, still go ahead and pick it up, browse through it, and kind of mentally get yourself prepared for what could potentially be ahead for you. So defining the adept, perfection is attained by slow degrees. It requires the hand of time. Yes, it does. So I have been practicing witchcraft actively, I'm going to say for about 9 years now. But I've always done witchcraft. I didn't actively practice it all the time, but I've always done it. I also have about 13 past lives that were all witches. And I've made my own ritual to call them forward when I am practicing witchcraft for their guidance to help me remember who I was. That to me is super important. remembering my past lives, remembering the knowledge that they attained, that I attained in those past lives. So I do practice Advanced Witchcraft. I have studied Advanced Witchcraft for several years now. So I think this for me does work, even though I have like 10 years of actively practicing the craft. And now that I'm on YouTube, I actually practice it a lot more. The reason I started YouTube was for like a virtual grimoire, to help keep me accountable for my practice. So that's why I'm on YouTube. It's my virtual grimoire. So let's get in to the first part, defining the Adept. Each time someone declares themselves a master or something similar without understanding and living that title is a tremendous disservice to our spirits, our community, and our true adepts or elders who have earned that designation through hard work, service, study, and diligence. So again, I feel like understanding it, not necessarily calling yourself a master, because I feel like we're always on a path of learning, we're always on a path of growth. I personally don't think I'll ever master the craft. I'm always going to be wanting to learn more, to do more, to understand more. So I don't think I'll ever call myself a master of any sort. So that is all in the first chapter here. Here's the leap of faith that was mentioned. Literary archetypes show us as adepts or elders by reclaiming ancient knowledge, tradition, and powers, keeping them alive for future generations, safeguard magical history so that we can learn, personally accept the responsibility implied by gaining and using magical knowledge, honor the earth as a sacred space, acknowledge that life is an act of worship, respect individuals' diversity, knowing that there are many paths to enlightenment, embrace creativity and change as fundamental, encourage balance in all things, teach others the way of magic, in simple, understandable steps, offer metaphysical aid, consultation, give back something to the art or to those who practice it. Realize that tools are only helpmates to magic. Real power comes from our mind, our heart, and will. And that's something I've always said in all of my lives when we are discussing magic. You yourself are the magic. You don't need a cauldron. You don't need herbs, flowers, dried anything. You don't need crystals. You don't need any of that stuff to help you. You yourself are magic. And know that mastery is a lifelong process, exactly what I just said. It begins with mastering the self. And don't have to say who they are. Their lives and actions speak for themselves. So here it talks about taking the leap of faith. And again, that's similarly to integrating the lesson of the Fool card in the tarot. The Fool is 0, numbered of beginnings and endings, the magic circle, life cycles, an undefinable essence of spirit. Thus the Fool is not a foolish person. It is instead a symbol of the unseasoned, intuitive, spiritual self. And that's exactly what that is. The major cards are just a story being told of your journey and your process, where it ends with the World card and you start all over again. Here's different questions. Do you know how to create your own spells, charms, and rituals? Do you have capacity to meditate without being easily distracted? Do you know how to use and combine physical movement, sounds, sensual input, visualization? So many wonderful questions that it's asking you to see if you are ready to jump into Advanced Witchcraft, making a commitment. And I feel like that's making a commitment to yourself and a dedication ritual. So the altar, the circle, your clothing, incense, and invocation. Living the magic. Adeptness is a lifetime proposition. No one becomes a magical authority overnight or by performing one ritual. What to expect along the way. A moment's pause, recognition. So I love that she's incorporating all of this in the beginning to make sure that you are ready for advanced magic. I think that's super important. And she does give you a motivation once you recognize and internalize your magical beliefs, experiences, and their associated effects. It's time to ponder your motivation for starting advanced practices. So this is a very, very responsible book, which I greatly appreciate. Dynamic traditional magic. For the purpose of this book, constitutes spellcasting, charm, and amulet creation, ritual weaving, and working with familiars. These methods gain traditional status in two ways. First, they are very popular in the magical community. Second, they are the ones most readily associated with witchcraft in the public mind. So she has different associations for the days of the week, also different associations for your daily cycles like daylight, darkness, also monthly associations, moon associations, so full, waxing, waning, and dark, as well as number associations. So here she's starting off with the basics. Pets as familiars. While the media might equate a black cat or a toad with witchcraft because of old stereotypes, you don't often see people in the magical community working with physical familiars. And that is something I do with my Darla. Spell charms and amulets. Who or what is the energy aimed towards? So this is like giving you things to think about when starting a spell. When does it need to manifest for the best results? What specific type of energy do you need to create? And what are the best components to augment this goal? Where is the best place to enact this space, this spell, ritual, or whatever, and why? And are these questions answered and specified in the charm or spell through words, actions, or symbols? So again, having clear intent. The direction of movement, the order and timing of the progression, the position of your body and location, directing the cone of power, and different color correspondences. So for like candle magic, also for if you're going to be making a poppet and you want to use a specific color for a specific intention. Drawing down the moon. So traditionally, women perform drawing down the moon because of femininity links with the goddess archetype power. But what happens when there isn't a woman available for this ritual? If someone else wants to commune with the goddess similarly. So here's a drawing down the moon ritual. A Monday night or during a full moon when the goddess energy predominates. So it gives you about preparation, so fasting for a day beforehand. Also add, do a ritual bath to cleanse yourself, purifying herbs like thyme, rosemary, mint, and lemon. Add rose and lily petals, 2 flowers sacred to many of the world's goddesses. Find music that has goddess-centered chants or makes you think of her. Higher tones specifically augment goddess energy like flutes or small bells. Here you have the invocation, the meditation, the altar, the circle, drawing down the sun. So as we know, the sun's a little bit more masculine. And it has completely opposite properties of the moon. So again, it gives you invocation, the altar, the circle, the meditation. The great rite symbolizes the sacred marriage between heaven and earth, God and goddess, and the spirit and matter. Today's symbolic tacks are often chosen instead for many reasons, including physical safety and social propriety. The great rite is generally reserved for times of great need like famine, droughts, and plagues, when a balancing and union of the greatest power in the universe are required for speedy manifestation. So again, just being mindful of your magic and your intentions. So magic artistry, this I mentioned during our live. So magical muse, word power, which as we know, spells are, can be said with words. I mean, your own intention, your own energy and will in your words and how you use them can make are for spells. Which brings me to the negative self-talk we do to ourselves. When you're cursing someone for a wrongdoing, all of those are spells. They're all magic, they all have intention. So here it says, watch your words. You might have to eat them later. Find ways to think about your magic whenever possible. Each time you direct your thoughts towards a previously enacted spell, ritual, or whatever, you gave it more energy in which it manifests. Music, another form of witchcraft. Have you ever listened to a song and it just completely took you to a different place and it made you feel emotions that you weren't previously feeling until you listened to that song? Dance, domestic arts, so kitchen witchcraft, kitchen witchery. Cooking is creating. Adding intention into what you're cooking does the same thing for you. It's witchcraft. Handcrafts as well. Stuff you're creating with your hands. And it doesn't have to look perfect. Look like it's worth $1 million. A simple handcrafted item does the job. Paintings and drawings. So like my friend Heather, who is currently painting what I think is going to eventually end up to be an oracle deck or a tarot deck. Sculpting and carving. This reminds me of my friend Summer from Astaria Sen, who does sculpting of her fae folk. Mazes and labyrinths. I went to a labyrinth in Scotland at the Isle of Iona, and while walking it put me in a whole different trance, a whole different mindset. So glamour magic, beauty boosters, invisibility aura, which you can do with glamour magic. So when you're putting on makeup and you don't want to be seen by anybody, put that intent into your makeup. Safe camouflage, the same thing. Invisibility, pseudo persona would be turning into someone completely different. And I'm sure you've seen where when women put on makeup and they look completely different than what they did without makeup. Again, that's your pseudo persona. Shape-shifting. You can shape-shift into a whole different person. And all of these items, all of these methods are witchcraft. So we will be doing a series, like a live on glamour magic. So Dreamwork, keeping a dream diary. Drinking tea or putting a moon card underneath your pillow at night to enhance these dreams. Or when you are dreaming, astral traveling. So magic dreams can generate instances of astral projection. Magical dreams may open up the doorway to other planes or existence. What your dreams mean, numerous factors can influence your dream time, including noise, lights, smells, environment, type of foods you ate the night before. Dream meanings. Magical dreams manifest periodic instances of intense three-dimensional precognition and postcognition. Or dreaming of a past life. Personal dream time magic. Lucid dreaming. Program dreaming, where you're slightly in a lucid dream, but it includes dream in progress, and you pre-create a dream's progression on focus. That's interesting. Divinely inspired dreaming. So ancient people turned to dreams looking for messages from the gods quite frequently. So the Greeks, for example, felt dreams offered spiritual clarity, and we did discuss this in also one of our lives. About like old like Mesopotamian time and Bible time, and how specific people were sought out for their dreams and their interpretations, and given the ability to talk to the gods or God, as they were only, some of them were just to one God. Psychic and prophetic dreaming. Group dreaming, transwork and pathworking. The irrelatedness of pathworking and transwork is a natural component for many spiritual pursuits. This connection, which is part of a magical web, entangles all metaphysical methodology. Some ancient and modern magi choose to master one school or method, like glamory or necromancy. Even so, most recognize the value of becoming proficient in several alternatives or complementary techniques, recommending this diversification to their students as well. So trance work, putting yourself into a trance partners, group trances, information retrieval from spirit. So many shamanic practices and traditions use trance states as a means to approach the spirit world and asking for information. Channeling, so like I do channeling when I'm writing. I do channeling when I'm making my oracle cards of my spirit allies to see what they look like. Prophetic trances, pathworking. Determining the goal of your pathwork, determining the astral landscape. Consider elemental and symbolic correspondences to help you. The self-mirror. This exercise is intended to help us see ourselves as we truly are in heart and soul. So this will be a very personal and deep ritual. I will say that. It's going to be a deep one. The fairy path. If anyone has seen my recent videos this month on fairies, there's a fairy portal on my property. And as well as different sabbats that are known for its fairy activity, like Beltane, Lammas, and Samhain. Group pathworking, group astral temple, the path, vision quest, different types of trance and pathwork. A vision quest is perhaps the most serious and taxing. Here you give yourself over to your ancestors, spirit guides, or the divine, seeking insight. Exactly what type of insight depends largely on your quest. Working with natural and elemental spirits. So spiritual safety, making sure you have protective herbs with you. A ghost of chance. So communications with ghosts. Necromancy, which is divination that's accomplished by contacting the spirit of the dead. But it's also often considered any type of magic performed with the aid of spirit. Here for Ghost of a Chance. In my tradition of witchcraft, we believe that all manner of spirits exist in the astral landscape. Mediumship has some potential drawbacks, namely the temporary relinquishing of your body or spirit can speak through. So like when you're doing a Ouija board session and you let the spirit take over your body so that you can speak. You give them a voice. You use your body as a conduit. Of nature, myth, and magic. In some magical traditions, the power of mythical or spirit creatures is called upon to guard the sacred space. So servicing the community by teaching, public education, study groups, lectures, covens, which I don't do. I'm a solitary practitioner. Different types of healing, counseling, solitary community ritual, community magic, self-care, and maintenance. So that brings us to an end of Advanced Witchcraft by Patricia Telesco. Thank you for exploring the depths with me. Advanced Witchcraft isn't just a book. It's a mirror for seasoned practitioners. If it spoke to you or sparked something, like, comment, and subscribe to stay connected on this path. Special thanks to Crossed Crow Books for sending this sacred work. Until next time, follow your lineage, honor your lived magic, and keep reaching beyond the veil. Bye, guys.